Christine McDaniel here with Kindred Quarters. So excited to have Dan Schwartz on. He is the CEO of InvestorFuse and a dear friend of mine and was a roommate of mine in the Entourage House in San Diego for 6 months. So we know each other well. I was always envious of his stories of traveling the world. You did a whole year, right? As a digital nomad, like a year straight, but I know
I just feel like it's just been going on forever at this point.
Forever. So yeah, I will let Dan get right into it and kind of tell his story. And what's nice too, you guys, because some of these interviews are with guys that are in their early 20s. They said we're not going to go the college route. We're just going to kind of travel, jump around, be a digital nomad. And so now we have a few interviews coming up with guys in their early 30s. So you can see that it's not necessarily an age thing. I think it's just this sense of freedom that we want to have. So Dan, go ahead and take the floor.
The endless summer, if you will.
Yes.
So yeah, I'm driven a lot by freedom. It's built into the companies that I create and generally my lifestyle, especially location independence. And I feel like the whole co-living movement speaks exactly to that sort of motivation. And I'm very fortunate to have met Christine when I did, and meeting that whole crew of entrepreneurs in San Diego, which is a really tight-knit group of entrepreneurs that all live together and they co-live. And it's an accountable system that really lets you step your game up while also giving you a built-in social network. It was huge for me, especially since I didn't really know anyone else in San Diego. It's one of the best life hacks of our modern generation, and it works regardless of age. I find that, you could probably be 50 and still find a good co-living situation depending on your marital status. So quick background on my story. I've always sort of been a nomad. When I was in my early 20s, I was touring full-time in a band called Pigeons Playing Ping Pong. I play the drums. You can look them up. They're still around. So I was always hopping around, and I left the band when I was 26 or 27 because I wanted to have some of my 20s to myself to explore the world and travel. And what I did is I built a recurring revenue model business that allowed me to separate my income from my time and essentially just do what I want, hang out with the people I want to hang out with, serve the people I want to serve, and travel and live wherever I wanted to. And it came down to the point where if I could actually post up anywhere I want in the world, where's the most ideal location? And I chose San Diego. And that's how I met Christine McDaniel and got introduced to the whole, co-living entrepreneur house movement. And I would say it was a life-changing experience for me.
Nice. And then I know you had a time where you lived in San Diego, for 6 months, you had your own loft in Little Italy.
Yeah. So I started it by living on my own, but I found that I was just hanging out with all of the co-living people anyways. So eventually it made sense for us to find a really nice house where we could all split the costs and make it affordable and practical. And we ended up moving into this baller house in San Diego with a pool and a hot tub and a sauna and a view of downtown San Diego. And it was just an amazing, ideal 6 months. And I'm sad that it didn't last longer than it did, but we had a lease that cut off after 6 months. And
I know.
that was just earlier this year, so I'm still grieving.
Still grieving. Yeah, me too. We all are. That was a cool house for sure. We still have videos and pictures to always relive the memories of the Entourage House. Okay, so we got some questions. So how much stuff do you own right now?
Yeah, I'm an essentialist or a minimalist, however you want to put it. I really only own things that I'm going to use. If I don't use it for more than 60 days, then I sort of just leave it behind. So I really only own clothes and a laptop and a toothbrush. Everywhere I go, really over the last 4 years, have been furnished units that didn't require any furniture or kitchenware or really anything. So really the only thing that I permanently own are, like a notebook, maybe some books that I'll travel with, my drumsticks, and my clothes and my laptop. So it's a super minimal lifestyle, but once you get used to that, you start to realize that maybe I don't need all of this other stuff like that I don't actually use, but I feel like I'm attached to, so I don't want to get rid of. I got rid of those attachments a long time ago, so I'm used to this minimal setup.
That's awesome. Well, your DJ equipment, didn't you leave that behind with a good friend?
Yeah. So like hobby sort of equipment is totally fine. I can justify that expense because it gives me joy and it's fun.
Yeah.
But when I'm traveling, I have to leave that kind of stuff behind. So I had like a keyboard and some, beat making devices, but I left that with our mutual friend in San Diego. I'll get back there at some point. And
yes. See, now you have to go back there. Now you have to come back.
Yeah.
So what's your favorite part about living this more, free lifestyle?
So I crave novelty a lot. So being location independent and being able to operate your business virtually and having friends in different locations just makes for an interesting, fun, exciting life. You always have a trip or to look forward to, and you're always, you have to learn to enjoy the moment, obviously, but there's always something to look forward to, and there's always something new to experience in different cultures and, adventures that you can have. So I think having the capacity to live a life of adventure is something that every human deserves. And if you're limiting yourself from experiencing that, then, that's what it drives me to give more people that capacity. So I'm thankful to come on and share this message on your interview here.
No, and I appreciate it because, you're always the one I think of when I think of, you legitimately have traveled the world and lived a life, and you run a successful. So actually, let's segue into that. You run a large company. So is there any, what are the pros and cons to running a large organization? Like, again, you could run it virtually, which is great, but you have team members, you have staff. Like, what are some of your hacks? Like, do you guys do weekly Zoom meetings? Like, what do you?
Well, the bigger the company is, the less work you have to do.
That's true.
Or I should say, the less busy work you have to do and the more focused work you have to do. And focused work doesn't necessarily mean 8-hour days or even 5-hour days. I only work really a couple hours a day of focused planning with my team, thinking, and, strategy type of high level stuff, which doesn't require a lot of traditional busy work typing sort of stuff on the computer. All my team is doing that. So it sort of shifts your priorities around. And I think of running a bigger team as a forcing function to become a better leader. So when I have all this extra time, because most of the monotonous work has been taken off my plate, it forces me to learn how to be a better leader. And it forces me how to be a transformational leader that can actually give people challenging and fun projects and problems to work on that actually help them grow as well. So it's sort of the bigger the company gets, your role as a leader changes a little bit. And I'm going through that right now, where we have a 15 or 16 person company, and I have to make sure that everybody is motivated all the time, which doesn't necessarily take up a lot of time, but it takes more focused and courageous effort on a day-to-day basis. So that's sort of what I've learned, and that's sort of the transition you'll go through as you scale a company like that. But if it's just you, then you have to really challenge yourself on working on essential things that you actually enjoy doing, and being ruthless about delegating the stuff that you hate to do or you're just not good at, and you'd be doing your company a disservice by doing the stuff that you're not good at. So it's important to really get good at honing in on your unique skill sets and taking the leap of faith to outsource other things.
Awesome. And so there's no running a company remotely, in your opinion, and traveling around. There's no cons. In your opinion? Is there any hard parts?
Other than time zone syncing,
oh yeah.
there's no cons. So if you're in Asia but your team is US based, you have to sacrifice late night meetings sometimes. But again, when you're not in the business and you're strictly working on the business, you can sort of set those times and prioritize the syncs to happen so that you get the most out of your team meetings. And then we also use Slack, and it's amazing the technology that exists to let you manage a virtual team. We use Slack, and we use this really awesome service called Front frontsapp.com. It's a shared inbox solution for your whole team that lets you have conversations about email threads without actually emailing people, and you can assign emails to people. And
Ooh, that's cool.
yeah,
Good little hack.
can't live without it, but that's a good hack. Yeah.
I like it. Okay, sweet. Now, so from your, and again, how many years? Wow. So how many years have you been traveling total, you think?
Since 2016. So really not that well. I've been traveling since like,
yeah, since you were in the band, you were traveling with the
different.
band.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that's
yeah.
separate. And then, but now since 2000, so yeah, 3 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
Solo single traveling since late 2015.
Okay, cool. And then what did you like least about it? What was the hardest part?
Yeah, so routine or lack thereof is probably the most challenging thing that you'll run across when you live a location independent lifestyle. So if you crave routine, then it is a bit of a challenge when you're hopping from city to city where you don't have the spot that you usually go to, or the restaurant that you usually go to, or the gym you usually go to. So you need to work on your adaptability skills if you're constantly on the go. It is exciting up to a certain point, and I'm at this point now where I see the benefit in like staying in one city, like posting up in one city indefinitely, and then just traveling from there, but having a home to come back to. In fact, I would recommend that for anybody that's considering this life, like to have a home base, and then you travel from that home base and have a place to come back to, which I never really developed that since I have family on the East Coast, friends in a bunch of different cities, San Diego crew. I'm in New York City right now. So you really, it's worth investing in home bases because it allows you to develop that sense of home and routine that you can't necessarily get when you're traveling all the time. And, same with co-living type environments. When you're in a co-living environment, you really dial in your routine. Like when we were staying in the Entourage House, most of our routine was automated, and we had people helping us do things like cooking and cleaning, washing the dishes. Our routines were super dialed in, and that just like excelled. Like all of our businesses grew substantially during that 6-month period.
Yeah, for sure. No, routine is key. And that's definitely a complaint I've heard with people that have traveled. And then talk about, because I know me and you a while back, and it was so intriguing to me. The other thing you'd said, especially when you did like the round the world thing, was that you were like jumping cities every 2 weeks, right? Roughly. Yeah. And it was hard for you. You would network, you'd meet people, but they knew you were leaving in 2 weeks. So they wouldn't, it was harder to create those deep bonds with people.
It's harder to create deep connections because subconsciously you're like, but I'm leaving. It's hard for dating as well. It's very difficult to date if you're looking for a long-term relationship. You need to be somewhere for the long term because not everybody can mesh with that sort of lifestyle. So that's been a challenge. But overall, though, it's great to have the capacity to be able to do that. You just have to sort of find that balance that works for you.
Cool. Good stuff. And then what do you specifically look for when choosing a place to stay? Do you go on Airbnb? Do you look at, the location? Do you look at what people you're going to live with? Like, how do you?
This is the best hack to do.
Okay.
First, choose your city. There's a couple good websites that let you choose like good cities to post up or work from as like a nomad. I think it's called
Nomad List. Nomad List is my favorite. I know. I'm trying so hard to create or have somebody else create something just like it for co-living.
Co-living.
Yeah,
that's
the one we would want to model. I love it. Okay, so you go in there, and then do you go in the chat section, or where do you go?
Well, no, I'll just look at the stats from each city. It'll give you stats like cities with the best Wi-Fi, best dating, best weather, like
affordability. No, that's my favorite website. I think they did such a fabulous job on that site. I always go to that site anytime I travel.
So let's say you pick a city. Let's say it's Lisbon. Next step is to what I do is I go to Google Maps, and I type in Lisbon, and then I search cafe. And what I do is I look at the highest density of cafes.
Oh my gosh!
In a city. Because generally those are happening spots that also have co-working spaces and amazing food and nightlife and cafes to work from during the day if you're on a virtual company, or places to meet, for dinner or lunch. So I'll like find where that place is and maybe do a little Google Street View just to see if it's like a quaint little area. And then I'll use that as the destination on Airbnb, and I'll find a spot local where all the cafes are.
Is that how you landed in Little Italy in San Diego? There's so many cafes.
Yes.
Totally.
Yes.
Dude, that is I hope people are writing this down. That is an amazing, that's smart. Yeah. Good hack. Okay, cool. So that's how you find your places.
Mm-hmm.
Or you're messaging me like the day before, like, Christine, do you have an opening at Kindred Quarters?
Yeah,
like,
no, that happens too.
I'm like, well, we got a couch. Yeah, no, that's super cool. And then let's see here. So my last question for you is, what is, in your opinion, you've talked a little bit about it, what's the future of co-living? What's the future of housing as a service? I mean, you own a SaaS company. So now it's like, that was software as a service, and that's kind of where you play. Do you see housing becoming a service?
100%. I see a lot of different related trends that are sort of all coming to a point for housing as a service. I see experience as a service. I see all these companies that are creating customized experiences, bucket list experiences, trips, like these experiences platforms is becoming a thing for our generation because we like doing cool adventurous stuff, but we don't want to necessarily plan it. I see that as a trend. I see, obviously Airbnb and shared everything. There's an Uber or an Airbnb for everything. There's a new furniture company that I told you about, furnish.co, where you can rent your furniture out. There's other sort of macro trends, like co-working. Co-working is now like the hippest thing you could possibly do. Companies are paying for their employees to work out of co-working spaces. There's more and more events in our world, like the Freedom Fest that's happening in like 2 weeks in Spain that I really wanted to go to, but I can't make it. All with this concept of freedom and being able to choose who you work with and who you're surrounding yourself with, especially with our generation who seek these sort of deeper, meaningful relationships, not only in their social life, but in their work life. It just all seems like it's coming together for the benefit of something like a co-living environment. And I also talk to a lot of people that share the same vision I have of like being able to go to a city anywhere in the awesome cities all over the world and having a community that you can immediately tap into to learn and grow and work with, as well as experience a completely new city and culture. It's just the technology exists to pull this off. And I'm a big proponent of the actual model because I've lived in a co-living situation and I've experienced the benefits firsthand. So I would highly suggest looking into it and giving it a shot, no matter if you're in your early 20s or if you're in your 30s or even in your 40s. It's great if you're single because it taps you into a social network. But even if you're not single, you guys can move in together and really experience and like immerse yourself in a new city and have an immediate group that will not only hold you accountable, but give you cool, fun things to do. So I'm a big fan of it, and I appreciate you, Chrissy, for championing the cause.
Yay. No, it's fun. I'm excited to do it. I echo all your same thoughts. So
yes.
No, it'll be fun to see where things go and how fast they go, because yeah, that's for sure the direction. There's no doubt about it.
Mm-hmm.
That even the generation coming up, that just got out of high school, they're like, we're not signing a 12-month lease. No way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, yeah. So good stuff. Well, Dan, thank you so much for your time, for doing this interview.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it. And then we'll talk.
Thanks for having me on. If anyone wants to get a hold of me, you can reach me at dan@investorfuse.com.
Perfect. Yeah. And then we'll have your contact info on here too. So
Perfect.
Thanks again. Okay. Have a good day.
Bye, guys.
Mm-hmm.